in this meeting. So just a minute, I will share the screen. Welcome to the Print Exports Game Changer for Your Business webinar by Export Promotion at All India Federation of Master Printers. Now, All India Federation of Master Printers is an apex body of printers in India with more than 250,000 printers under one roof. So periodically, the AIFMP conducts technical webinars for the printers in the past 2.5 years. This time we are doing one under the export promotion banner along with CapExcel and with Print Media, Print Week as our media partner. So it is my pleasure to invite Mr. P. Chandar, the President of All India Federation of Master Printers, to provide the welcome address. Before that, I would like to give a short introduction to our President G. He is the second term president of AIFMP. He comes from a family of printers from the Artisan & Co. Chennai. They are the founders of MPLA and of course the AIFMP charter members too. He has been the past president in MPLA and a very active member of MPLA. He's also a member in Printing Technologies Forum and an ardent promoter of the IPT Chennai Diploma College. He's an editor of Coromandel Printers, and in one of the interviews with Print Week, he has emphasized the need for ERP and MIS software required especially for print, which means that there are a number of ideas that he has to promote printers. May I request you, sir, to give the welcome address.
Thank you, Lakshmi Priya. Very good afternoon to all of you all. And to all
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
No,
thank you, Lakshmi Priya. Very good afternoon to all the members.
Is anybody able to hear him? Sir, we are not able
to.
Yeah, I can hear very well. Lakshmi Priya ji.
Yeah, we can hear. I can also.
Yeah, we can hear. Please, go ahead.
Sorry.
I welcome the guest speakers also who have taken time off, spared a lot of time for this effort. And I really thank Manoj Bhai to take the initiative as usual, as he has done earlier also. Of course, we all know we have taken, my team under my leadership has taken over at a very crisis period where plate prices and paper prices are soaring very high and the business needs are totally different. And we are addressing all the issues together. And things are going in a much better way, and there is a lot of response from the government side also. And we are having a lot of interactive sessions with our members also, who are able to connect to us and tell us what exactly the situation that is prevailing. And now we are also on the guard that the solvent prices like petrol, diesel also is going up, and we do not know how this, and the container prices also have gone up for the export. And more or less, since this is an export meeting and it's going to be a real game changer, and we have addressed issues as soon as we came to, as soon as we took over in the AFMP, we had these EPCG issues also. That was, many printers in India are affected by this. Due to the pandemic also, they were unable to meet their export obligations. And the government has also sent circulars and notices to a few printers in India. And we have addressed this to the concerned authorities and even to the Prime Minister of India. And I'm very happy to say they have responded in a very fitting manner. and they have given us, and we have also given them the suitable data and all. I thank Vinod Jain and Medha for providing us with all the details and everything. So as far as the exports of this, and I hope this entire session, this webinar session will be very useful to printers who are eager to do a lot of exports with the current scenario opening up. And of course, you all know the Ukraine war is going on, and I don't think everything will come to a. Let's pray that everything comes to a good ending, and let the exports boom also. And because the Indian market also is quite Indian market, and the skill development of the Indian workers are very good, and we have very good technical institutes all over India. Skill development can be improved, and willingness to produce more and more for export obligations can be done. And we have very good insight of designers, and digital design enhancements can be done. And we have all the surfacing equipments and everything to add on to the value to give value to the printed product. So I think there is no dearth of skill and skilled manpower. We do not have any shortage of that. Only thing is we have to develop them to make it a successful export. So with this, I thank Manoj Bhai for taking this initiative, and Lakshmi Priya for moderating, and others. Have a nice and useful webinar throughout. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the very inspiring and positive approach that you have given. I think many of our printers would be having a positive approach. Now, let us go on to why we have started this seminar. This webinar, what is the purpose? So Mr. Manoj Mehta, sir, is here to give an insight on the webinar. A short introduction to Mr. Manoj Mehta, whom we all already know. He's the director of Utility Print Pack Private Limited. He's the chairman of the export promotion of AIFMP now, and past president of AIFMP. And some of the highlights of the roles that he has done. He has initiated the Print Summit organized by BMPA, initiated the Romancing Print organized by AIFMP, initiated the Print Conclave by KSPA, and also the Coromandel Print Conclave by MPLA. He has won, his Utility Print Pack has won under his leadership over 400 national and international awards. Sir has donned a number of roles as Chairman, Export Promotion, AIFMP 2019-20, Core Committee Member of FAGPA 1920, FAGPA's VP currently, past president of BMPA, and so on. There is a long list. I think I will not take much time. Over to you, Mr. Manoj Mehta.
Yeah. Good afternoon, friends. Trust you had a great festival of colors. Happy Holi to all. It is both privilege and opportunity for me to be amidst such a great audience. I think All India Federation of Master Printers and all its thank all its members and office bearers for organizing this vital webinar, as well as extend a special thanks to our moderator today, Professor Lakshmi Priyaji of Avinash Lingam University, for sparing his valuable time and giving us the support at AIFMP. Friends, today, the print and packaging exports is a segment that hugely impacts the growth of any industry in printing and contributes to the economy. Times have changed, friends. Not just the Federation, but even the government is encouraging manufacturing and exports across sectors, printing industries included too. Friends, as you all will agree that 2021 impacted our lives and businesses in multiple ways. Starting this year, things have been looking up for the world on a whole, and thus making 2022, a year of challenges, transformations, growth for Indian printing businesses. Even printing industry is not exception. Printing industry is transformed in print media. You can see everything is going online. Everything people are there are virtual webinars and so on. And we see entire dynamics of printing is getting changing day by day, making world smaller place. Micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as the Indian economy faces a year of challenges, transformation, and growth. Friends, the launch of important schemes such as production-linked incentive scheme initiated by government this year has come as a real blessing as it endeavors to put production, manufacturing, and export in the spotlight. Our Honorable Finance Ministers, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, in one meeting expressed that the PLI, that is Production Link Incentive Scheme, I think has been a game changer in drawing industries coming out of certain geographical territories to countries like India and being a part of domestic and also the export market. So game changer, surely it is. We'll come to know today in this webinar that we'll discuss so many pros and cons and so many different ideas. There are experts on panel. Definitely, I'm sure all of us will take home something. With the innovative ideas, the PLIs could eventually reduce India's trade deficit while boosting manufacturing and exports. Even Ajay Shahai, Director and CEO of Federation of Indian Export Organization, thinks that PLI are promising as going forward they will play a major role in India's overall exports. Now, exactly what is PLI? Simply put, it is an innovative scheme provides incentive in terms of cash to various companies for enhancing their domestic manufacturing. Apart from focusing on reducing import bills and improving the cost competitiveness of local goods, the scheme offers incentive on incremental sales for the products manufacturing in India, which could vary between 4 to 6% of turnover for most categories. It can also go up to 10% for certain products. The PLI, along with the 4 other schemes, seems pretty promising. According to Isha Chaudhary, Director of CRISIL Research, feels that PLI is expected to give much needed booster dose to failing capex cycle in medium term. It has provided an outlay. It has provided an outlay of 4 to 7% of incremental revenues over the scheme period. This could probably trigger 2.5 to 3 lakh crore of capex spread across 14 sub schemes in capable of getting rupees 35 to 40 lakh crore of incremental revenues for industry in general. Now, how much printing industry is taking advantage of this scheme? That is, one has to see, and time will tell. This, my friend, certain to be a game changer for Indian print exports and as well as our country's economy. And as the chairman of export promotion of AIFMP, I had mentioned few but imperative touch points for Indian exporters to consider while dealing with other countries that included giving customers realistic timelines, updating them with the goals of shipping through real-time tracking, exporting with required permits, considering country-specific import controls and goals, and finally giving your client a seamless purchase and delivery experience. That is the way to make and keep your exports client for good. We have PLI on the horizon, and it is up to see how we can propel our business, increase manufacturing and exports. So, my dear fellow printers, let's go all out and once again let the world see Indian printing and packaging potential. With this PLI from my side, we can make it possible, I'm sure. And I'm sure today's webinar, we have very Oh, mine was unmute or I was?
Yeah.
Now only, I think maybe a finger touched or something. Now.
Oh, okay. Okay. So I'm through the Lakshmi Priyaji.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Mr. Manoj Mehta. Thank you for giving us an overview of the production linked incentive scheme. I think it's the need of the hour to find opportunities where we can do something for our printing industry. And I would like to request all the participants here to inform your friends about this seminar going on. The link for registering to this seminar is given in the chat. You may share it with your friends also, the other fellow printers who have not joined, and please recommend them to join here. You would have seen with what Mehta sir said that it is a very essential meeting that we attend at this point of time. The second request I would like to make is all the panel members are ready to answer your questions. So let's wait for the end of the meeting. Please note down your questions. Maybe you can type the questions in the chat also, but we will take the questions to the end of the session. Thank you very much. We will move on to the next keynote speaker, Mr. Satish Malhotra, the managing partner, Swan Press, New Delhi, will be giving us the keynote address today. He is a past president of the All India Federation of Master Printers. Currently, he chairs the Standing Committee on the Government Relations of AIFMP. He is the chairman of Paper. He is the chairman of Paperboard and Paper Products Panel of CapExcel, the Chemical and Allied Export Promotion Council of India. From the Swan Press has print production plants both in Delhi and Manesar, and they are specializing in commercial print, packaging, books, and paper and stationery products. And he's well versed in, he's an exporting business with respect to the printing industry. Therefore, may I have the honor of requesting Mr. Satish Malhotra to give us the keynote address. Over to you, sir.
Well, good afternoon. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, good afternoon to all my friends. It's lovely to be with you and share my thoughts. The topic is that we are looking for a game changer for our business. Now, why are we looking for a game changer? If we introspect, the last 2 years have exposed our businesses to numerous challenges. With the pandemic and the corresponding impact of digitization, we saw that the share of print was taken over by other medias to some extent. Information was sought by our customers now in the media of their choice and not only limited to ink on paper. To that extent, the pie of the print industry was not growing or was rather shrinking. The turnovers of most of the printers have shrunk, or there has been a marginal degrowth. No one has been able to, very few people would have been experiencing positive growth. And all these factors now lead us to think, what do we need to do to reinvent our business and bounce back and excel and surpass the glory of success which we have earlier achieved? Friends, if I look through my own journey of printing, because I have almost spent nearly 4 decades in this industry, we about 40 years back, our issues used to be that our equipments were depreciating. Then came a time when they were becoming obsolete. And now I think we have come into an era where we are experiencing disruption. So the velocity of change has taken over. The velocity of change is so profound that unless we can ourselves change with times or preempt the change and be at the forefront, we are always wanting, we will always be seen as wanting in our business. And I think the trick lies that we have to reinvent, we have to change. And when we want to change and reinvent, we are looking for greener pastures. We are looking for areas which are going to make our business grow, make us more profitable, achieve higher capacity utilizations. So, I mean, with that background in mind, and with our goal to succeed, I think the decision is very, very clear that we really need to reinvent. There is no choice but to reinvent and embrace the game changer, which can take our business to the further heights and achieve the glories which we have been achieving in earlier times. Friends, let me just, because currently being a print practitioner who has been also involved in exports for the last 2 decades, currently I wear the cap of being a panel chairman of the exports for paper and paper products out of our country. So just to give you the background, I mean, we have about more than 600 members who are my panel members, and they represent diverse industries. I would primarily segregate them into 3 kind of industries. A few of our members come from the paper mills and the paper industry, whose business is only to be manufacturing, and and they also export paper. So they are not the value addition members. They are the members who are selling and exporting raw paper. Then we have a reasonable group of people who are, I would say, converters of papers. Converters of paper means right from converting paper into books, into stationery, into diaries, into calendars, or whatsoever paper can be produced into those products. They do the value add and they are doing those exports. And I think the third significant category is now of the converters who are more into the business of packagings. We have seen that if we take the overall pie, while commercial print, education print, office printing, they have all got dented by the onslaught of digital technologies. But packaging is something which cannot be really be dented by digital technologies. And with the way consumerism has percolated our life, I think that is one area where it's growing. So we have quite a big chunk of members who represent the converters of paper and paperboard into all kind of packagings. So we at Capexcel have the responsibility to initiate the non-initiated desirable exporters who want to achieve more and more exports. Because out of the members, we observe in statistics that 15 to 20% are the ones who are already doing reasonable business, and there is a big chunk who are succeeding now and then, and they are really trying to find their foothold as to how they can excel, scale up, leverage, and take their export business to greater heights. So we at Capexcel have the duty of being a catalyst and trying to see what all we can do for our members to help them achieve their goals. Friends, now since we feel that export is one area which can really show us the way to reinvent our business, conquer greater and greater markets, achieve better capacity utilizations, upgrade our production capacities and skills, I think, and let me give you an idea of what is the pie, what is the pie of the business which we are looking for, if we can look into. Friends, at the current moment, India has barely, if we were to look at the total pie of international trade in paper and paper products, India's position is barely a market share of about 2%. Now, 2% is abysmally low. I mean, if we see the country like China, I mean, the statistics would be a little old because in the pandemic period, there have been some changes. But I mean, prior to this pandemic, while India was having a share of international trade in paper and paper products of roughly about 2%, well, China was having a share of something between 18 to 20%. So, I mean, and now if we see in the last 2 years and at the current times, the way trade is shifting globally, there are different alignments, different production centers, different political alignments. So India is at the forefront of being able to garner a much bigger share and increase its exports dramatically. Let me share you some real statistics. At Capexcel, we get statistics of what is the turnover of our turnover. I would say, friends, for the last 2 years, that means the year would be 1920. I mean, April 19 to March 20, and then from April 20 to March 21. Our global or our exports of paper and paper products out of the country have been roughly approximately $2,000 million. The figure is $1 million, roughly about $2,000 million. If we translate it into rupees, we could be roughly about 15,000 crores. 15,000 crores is the export which is happening out of our country for paper and paper products. 1920, the figure was roughly approximately 2,000 billion, which would be 15,000 crores. And then with the advent of the pandemic, our figures in the year 2021 was a year which was, we remember would be a year when the pandemic did affect us, but our turnovers our exports did not falter. Our exports still remained approximately the same. So that is how it has been going for the year 1920 and 2021. Now, friends, we are almost 11 and a half months through for the year 21-22. By the end of March, we would be having our figures for the whole year. Let me tell you that in this period, the 11 months which we have gone through, the exports out of our country have seen an average growth of 74%. I mean, it is a phenomenal growth. Seeing the current times and the shrinkage of economies, but still achieving a growth of 74% speaks about the potential which exists in the world, which somewhat is being encashed by our exporters. And I would say the potential is very many times more. I mean, in the 10 months which we have, I have figures for the 10 months ending January 2022. We have almost crossed 2,000 crores of turnover, and by the end of the year, there is an expectation that we would have touched 25,000 crore rupees in terms of exports of the products coming under the paper and paper products panel of Capexcel. Just to give you a little more analysis, as a chairman of the panel and as what the ministry advises us and what we feel, there is a big chunk of exports which is happening of raw paper and paperboard. Now, I mean, our endeavor is basically to focus and concentrate on paper products rather than paper, because Paper products is the area where we are able to achieve value addition and earn real wealth for ourselves as well for our country. The figures which I have been giving you for exports does include a reasonable chunk of paper, paperboard, printing and writing paper, and other papers which are being exported by our mills. Prior to the pandemic, almost 55% of our exports were coming from the paper mills, and the balance 45% export business was done by our converters of paper and paperboard, who would sell the value-added product globally. Well, in the last 1 year with this pandemic, there have been certain changes and dislocations in the various countries abroad. China, which was a very big exporter of paper, they decided a few years back to clamp down on the polluting paper mills, and paper mills were either closed down or they could only reopen once they had complied with all pollution measures. So China has also become an importer of paper, and quite a few Indian mills are exporting them packaging and other papers going to China. Having said so, in the figures which I have just said, that we are about to achieve 25,000 crore worth of exports in this current year ending this month, we expect that the share of the paper exports, which earlier was about 55%, would be going up to 65% this year. So we would say that the export growth of paper has been somewhat more than the growth of other paper products. So when we have averaged growth of about 74%, the paper has grown a little more, and our paper products would have grown somewhat less. But just to give you a little better picture, there are certain categories which I have in front of me. Envelopes, writing blocks, letter pads, and etc. They have grown by 54%. The exports have grown. Exercise books, diaries, etc. have grown by 25%. We have paper bags, boxes, and other containers which have grown by 68.5%. We have paper cones and tubes growing by 29%. We have miscellaneous paper products growing by 38%. We have playing card exports grown by 72%. We have tissue paper and cigarette paper growing by 86%. So, I mean, we get the flavor of which are the areas and which are the segments where growth is happening. So, friends, looking at the backdrop of these figures, which are real figures reported from the customs to us, we get a fair idea that putting our thrust into exports is the need of the hour. And if we can do it rightly and succeed there, it has the potential of being a major game changer for our business. So, I mean, this statistics and our last experience more than convinces us that we should put our stress into exports, make it a part of our strategic business pie, and we will really succeed. Friends, now the question is, I will just pose a question: why do we need to export? Why should we export? Well, the moment we are looking at the export market, we will be increasing our higher turnovers, and our reach becomes global. We have the whole global market to address. We are put across with the global opportunities. Bigger and bigger business volumes can be looked into. And in our own businesses, if we can achieve a right balance of servicing the local market as well as the export market, then we have achieved maximum capacity utilizations. And then very often, the export business is of a great help, because in our domestic business also we have lean periods, we have seasonality of products which we are dealing with. So our lean periods get taken over by the export markets, because the export markets, there is a time lag of a few months before the season will happen over there. So if you can achieve a right mix, then you are able to plan your business that throughout the year you will be having the optimum capacity utilization, and therefore even increase your business accordingly. Now, when you go for exports, it helps you to upgrade your products, helps you to upgrade your skills as your customers require global standards from you, and that really upskills you to do better business and earn more profit. So friends, one thing I really want to share with my all printer brothers is, when we go for exports marketing and we meet our potential buyers, and once we study their markets, a few things which really emerges, that quality and standardization of quality is paramount. Because internationally it is believed that there is only one way to do a job, and that is to do it perfectly right. So we have to imbibe that attitude. Unless, chalta hai attitude, or next time we will improve. If that is the attitude, then we are not going, we may miserably be failing in our sport ventures. And then secondly, friends, why I say so, let us also analyze, in international markets, the policy is of sale or return. I mean, if your customer finds reasons to reject your goods, you really have no recourse to ask him for payments. That used to be, that is the written word in the European and the American and other markets. And even today in even Indian markets, when we are buying products from various internet sites, we are still reserving, if we are not satisfied, we reserve the right to send back and reclaim our money. So friends, when we are working for international customers, you definitely understand that your product has to meet those international parameters. Otherwise, if it stands rejected, then you may run into the big risk of losing money. And secondly, I mean, you need to upgrade your quality. I will share you my experiences. About 2.5 decades back, when I tried and I made an endeavor to enter into exports, I met an international buyer who were a world brand, and they asked me to produce certain samples of certain printed products and diaries and books for them. And believe me, I spent my maximum effort, did whatsoever I could, and I sent them the samples. Talked to them, they said, well, Mr. Malhotra, your samples are not up to the mark. And the first question he asked me, that have you used all the products which you have made, have you used paper as per grain direction? And let me confess, 2.5 decades ago, I was not even learned upon what was the grain direction, because paper was a market. If we bought from the companies or from the traders, it was buy it or leave it, that kind of a market. We would buy paper as what we would get and make products. So that is the time when I was put across and educated that if you have to have products of world standards and books and diaries and others, then we have to plan right from buying the paper as per the right grain direction and make those products accordingly if we want to achieve international standards. Initially, we had a lot of problem with the mills because our volumes were not sufficient. Mills were not focused on trying to serve your small quantities on direction, on grain direction. But well, friends, as businesses matured, today we are able to procure the papers in terms of whatsoever are our requirements. So what I want to say, embark upon exports, be prepared, improve your quality, and try to succeed. And you see, it offers you a lot of other benefits. Once you are exporting, international markets are there. You can procure materials globally. Exports is again a business when you are making shipments, you are not making part shipments. You are sending some containers. Your payments also come in bulk. You don't normally get part payments. So, I mean, there are strict time schedules. So they help you to plan well and be a little, I would say, a little more efficient than what we would be otherwise. So export helps you pull up your socks, brings your unit in a better position, and I think you can you start earning foreign exchange. It is glamorous enough to be traveling all over the world, and taking benefit of what global trade really offers you. Now, friends, coming to the issue of exports, how are we able to? Our constitution says that we have to export goods and services, and not the taxes which have gone into our goods. So we are lucky that with this constitutional, saying, the government also tries to formulate policies wherein, so that we can be cost effective in global markets, all the inputs which we are using, there are various schemes generated whereby we can strip the taxes which have gone into those products, so that eventually when you are exporting by incurring costs which are which we have got rid of all the taxes, so that you have a level playing field with global players in other countries where the imposition of these taxes has not been there, and you can become very, very competitive. Well, friends, at Capexcel, we have a small role. Under the Capexcel umbrella, our objective is to reach out to the new and potential exporters, including micro, small, medium, initiate them, advise them, and even mentor them through various export orientation programs and schemes. Our basic job is that we need to, our interaction, because Capexcel is a body under the umbrella of the Ministry of Commerce. So we have access and we knowledge about all the export policies and schemes which are initiated by the government. It is our duty to percolate those information to all our members, show them the way and mentor them to how they can utilize to their export business and benefit from them, and at the same time take feedback from the industry, and if there are any real issues which need to be addressed, take those real issues also back to the government, to take them back to the government. Now, friend, our government endeavors to provide us a level playing field and offers incentives also. But having said so, if we have to come into exports, I think we have to plan ourselves. We need to know how to plan and execute our export business. So as I narrated to you, my experience of the international buyer whom my samples were not accepted, but then gradually when I started following those lines, I was able to produce goods which are accepted all over the globe, and then the export really, kicks up. So friends, if now I would like to just address a few points on how to achieve and grow our own export sales. If we really want to grow and have our export sales, we have to learn a few things. When we go and meet our international buyers, we as Indians are very, we feel saying no is, the first thing you have to learn is to be able to say no when you are not being able to do a job, or when you are not the best person to be able to do your job. Very often I've seen my friends go and make overcommitments which they are unable to meet. So the first thing is that wherever you excel and wherever you can pass on the best product and quality to the customer, focus there, and wherever you cannot, try to say no, because saying no is not being impolite, it is being very honest. I think that really helps you build better relations with your customer. Well, you need to assess the strengths. You have to need to assess what are your strengths, what are your equipments, what is your skill, which are the products and segments where you come up to the highest level of world standards. Well, then you should be able to focus on them. For export marketing, traditionally we have been going to various trade fairs, and now, friends, in this period of the pandemic, I think we have, while physical trade fairs were not possible, we supplemented at Capexcel by having many events which were the virtual trade fairs. In the virtual trade fairs, most of our exporters, we offered a platform where they could have a digital presence. Like the way we used to have a physical presence at a trade fair, now you could have a digital presence on your computer. Your prospective buyers would walk into that digital platform, go to your stall. At the stall, your stall could be equipped digitally to show them products, give them quotes, take them to a factory tour. So now, I mean, we had to encompass what I really want to say is that even this is a route, whatsoever is physically possible is also to a great extent possible by the virtual world also. So while we are going back to normalcy in future, I expect that fairs are going to be phygital. A new word is being coined. It will be physical as well as virtual. So I think we have to now prepare and take advantage of all these newer initiatives. Friends, we at Capexcel currently are all in this month of March and April. We are doing three virtual trade fairs for our industry. The trade fair for printing and publishing has just finished on the 16th of March. We are having a next trade fair on paper products and stationery products, which will be on the 28th March to 30th March. And then in the month of April, 25th to 27th, we are going to be having a India packaging fair. So friends, I would like to, those people who are wishing to address these global markets, I would address them to get in touch with Capexcel and try to take stalls at these virtual fairs, and it would give you a lot of opening interaction with foreign customers, help you make your own data and plan your business accordingly. We at Capexcel have also created a cell where we are creating a data bank of potential global major international players in our paper and paper products industry. With the help of missions abroad and with the help of certain softwares and databases, we are coming up with this resource, and this resource will be in future available to most of our market, most of our members. Friends, I would advise go and start your business with easier markets, do your own research, visit your country, see their samples, what they are buying, and don't take a lot of risks. Check your prices. And very often, friends, I have noticed that in exports, because the world market is very dynamic, timing also plays a very big role. Let me share you an experience. About 1.5 decades back, we were asked by our ministry that we should concentrate on Latin American countries and go and visit there. Though we thought that Latin America is the farthest place from our country, logistic costs will be very, very high. It may be a worthless proposition, but we took the courage and we went and participated in trade fairs in Mexico. Now, all I want to tell you, it so happened that when we were, before we were participating in those trade fairs, in the country called Chile, there was an earthquake, and Chile happens to be a major paper supplier. So the paper supplies within the continent dried down for some times, and we were able to win fantastic export orders from that particular country. We were at the right place at the right time, and we were able to succeed to a great extent. Friends, not taking much time, the government also comes forward with very, very many schemes to motivate, initiate all our export members. I think that we have technical speakers today who will let you know the intricacies of various schemes. But the main focus is that the government provides you at times with export subsidies, direct payments, low-cost loans, tax exemptions, subsidized marketing schemes, MAI schemes, participation in trade fairs. And now, with the pandemic, the government has also come with very many new initiatives, wherein infrastructure is being strengthened. New logistic division is there. RODTAP scheme has come to give us to provide us the benefit of rebate in the taxes which have gone into our products. There are schemes meant for service sectors. There are export hubs, and there are very, very, very many packages which are there. There are lists. I can go endlessly, but I think I have already overcrossed the time limit which I was required to speak for. So friends, in the nutshell, all I want to tell you that the potential is very great. Our industry in this last pandemic period, when global businesses were shrimping, the exports of paper and paper products have advanced and grown by 78%. And I would say that is the tip of the iceberg. If we really pull off our socks, prepare ourselves, market well, produce well, I think the growth is going to be multiple times. Friends, I think with that, I would have shared my thoughts. And if there are any questions or answers, or there's a panel, and thanks the All India Federation for giving me this opportunity and sharing my thoughts with all my members. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. That was a very neatly drawn flow, starting from emphasizing the need for reinventing. And then you have also mentioned the why, how, and also what to be done with respect to export. Thank you very much, sir. With all your experiences, I think many of the people will be encouraged to jump into export. For the benefit of the participants here, the link for registering and joining right away is put in the chat. Please share it with your fellow printers who would like to join. And also we have our print partner who's sharing his tweet. You can share the links to your friends as well. The seminar, our webinar is being captured by the print tweet. Please do share this link to your friends. We will move on to our next speaker of the day, Mr. Nilesh Dhankarni. He is the CEO and MD of Quarterfold Printables, which started in 2014. QF covers every aspect of their client printing requirements. That's a very nice quote mentioned by QF in one of their websites. So that's something we all have to aim at, the confidence. So QF is an expertise in school books and educational print materials. Their philosophy is to produce excellent quality work utilizing the latest technology and equipment. Print Week calls Mr. Nilesh a busy man frequently traveling out of India. So let's listen to Mr. Nilesh Dhankarni, a confident person that he is. He vouches for innovation in products and services to hit the pandemic hard. Over to you, sir.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I think my video has been blocked.
Select your camera.
Yeah, I think Lakshmi has to allow me. Okay.
Have you got it? Yeah.
Yeah, I got it back. Thanks, Lakshmi. First of all, thank you, Manoj Bhai, for giving me this opportunity to speak and be a part of Federation and this forum. And it was, in fact, learning for me as well from Mr. Satish. He shared a quite insight and potential and statistics and a lot of things about printing, which was actually I came here to speak, but this is, in fact, I'm learning from him as well. And it was a great speech by him and the insight and how Capexil works, and there are so many incentives in export and how to go about it. Of course, the main thing was he mentioned was to be honest in terms of quality and have confidence in yourself that you can match the international quality, which right now China and Vietnam, they are contributing a much larger percentage in terms of export. But nevertheless, India is in the right position these days, like especially the way the world is growing, the globalization, people have different approach for India now what they used to have some years back. So we have your own stand. India is in a good wicket. And I think we all can come together to play an important role, in terms of exports. I personally felt, because I'm into exports from last 15 years in terms of experience, and last 6 years in terms of my company as a CEO and MD. As Mr. Satish said, I totally agree with him. I'm sure he's more experienced and he's traveled across. The most important thing is to get out of India, travel every country you want to go. See the potential, do your research, be there. It's very difficult to have business, online or by email, it's not an end product, it's like a total gamut of services where you have to explain and convince your client. According to me, you cannot just sell a product online in this kind of field. So that's the only thing which we do. We have a team like me. I myself came yesterday from Africa. so I have a little bit of jet lag now. So all we do is like keep traveling, sit in front of the customers. It's like, away from sight is away from mind. So we always make sure that we are with them, and then try to get our own share, which China and Vietnam is getting so far from there, even Malaysia. So I have not prepared any speech or information or statistics right now, but I can share my own experience from last 6 years, what we have done in terms of contributing print exports from Mumbai. So advantage we have is like our facility is just 8 kilometers from Mumbai port, JNPT port. So that was one of the advantages we have. And experience in marketing, which is actually the main thing in terms of to reach the clients, and plus recently we got into production. We got our 2 facilities in place. Earlier we used to be a print management company where we used to print from other printers, but it was a need of our, because of the volume were so high, and it's really very high, increasing in fact every year. So we thought like it's an opportunity for us to get into production as well, and we invested in a state-of-art factory, got all the brand new machines in place. That's how it worked. The major contributor for us so far, because of my own experience, was Africa. But recently I've realized that even countries like United States, Canada, in some countries, they are looking at India as a trade partners because of the low sentiments of China. Recently I've been I was invited in a fair, which was a charity fair, they call it humanitarian ground, where the big organizations like UNESCO, USAID, there are some Islamic funds where they promote a lot of funds in terms of education, right from printing of books to development of content, to school infrastructure and all the stuff. So that's where we came to know that they are looking at India in a very positive way. Where earlier it all used to be done by China, Malaysia, Indonesia, South Korea, in fact Vietnam. Now we stand an opportunity there. So the focus is, as they are changing their focus to India, we also should take an opportunity, to spread our wings there, reach there, show what we have, what we got, try to deliver that. So our journey started in 2013, where we just focused on Africa. Africa is a continent. There are so many countries. There's West Africa, East Africa, South Africa, and the part of North Africa, which comes under Middle East and North Africa, is called MENA region. So, but some part of Africa, like East and West, especially, they don't have much of printing facilities in-house in their own country. And when they import paper, they pay heavy duty, 25 to 30%. Meanwhile, when they import education books, education books worldwide is like a duty-free product. So it makes more sense for them to import straight away books rather than importing paper and printing there, though there's no quality printing there. But slowly they have been setting up printing presses there as well. So we took opportunity of that. We started exploring in East Africa, West Africa, we reached Congo, Central Africa, then South Africa. So from there, the journey started. So the volume was, before we were like, there are 3 segments where we used to concentrate. There was a private publishers, like you can say the publishers like Navneet and Chetna or Jeevandeep kind of publishers in India. So they have the set of publishers there. There are big publishers who contribute 60 to 40%, 60 to 80% of the market there. So initially we targeted those private publishers who publish books and sell in each school and bookshops and all the stuff. So we started a project with them. But then that was a good opportunity. We managed to get some good business. Then we realized there are other opportunity of the donor fund, where the European funds, the UN agencies, like UNESCO as well, they fund the local Ministry of Educations in Africa to distribute books to every student in their own country. That's a big volume business where we change our focus to that kind of business. The information you can get it from World Bank tenders, World Bank websites, USAID websites, UNESCO websites, where they're going to invest heavily in education, where they want to distribute books in every school or which cities. So you can get this information. So that's where we used to get the information. We used to go to the country, research more, spend weeks and weeks there, meet Ministry of Educations, meet the fund agencies and find out like how it happens. Of course, end of the day, it's a tender, so you have to be the lowest there and get into it. So that's a mass volume business where we are concentrating now. So recently we got one single order of 138 containers, which were not too bad. Having said that, but these are the low margin businesses in Africa. There are other businesses like you meet publishers, give them the value added services, like not only just printing. Maybe you can add some value in, by adding some content in it, hiring teachers locally, because Indian teachers are quite famous and acceptable everywhere in the world. So we got into that business as well, writing books for them, especially maths and science and ICT, IT books from India. Gave them our own idea, gave them the content, did partnership with them in terms of producing the book, publishing the book. Meanwhile, our main focus was always printing part of it. That's the core. But to get that main core printing, we did all these channels, like, from drawing and illustrations, layouts, writing books from the teachers, just to get the main printing part of it. So that's for the value addition we added, and of course the profit margin goes up then, because you charge for a content as well. That's what Africa is now. There are a lot of book fairs, as Mr. Satish informed us. We try to participate in all the book fairs, show our potential capabilities, like what we can do and all that stuff. Market yourself, be them, learn their culture, be part of their culture, because now, they look at Indians in a broader way, like unless they used to think Indians on a conservative way, but now they know that the Indians are like not that like before, So try to be with them, try to adopt their culture, eating habits, everything. I mean, right from eating habits to your humor, everything counts when you do international trade marketing. You can't be conservative with your own terms, and so this are a small thing happen. When you share with them, you win them, you be part of them, and then of course, the trust factor builds up, the relationship builds up, then you can get the business for a long term, like. Right now, over 80% of business is like our 20, the customers which we do from last 7 years. So it's on just one phone call, I print for them, there's no quotation ask, or there's no waiting for the payments, everything. Because with time, we have built up so good relationship, like, I trust them, they trust me. Sometimes the monies are delayed because of the dollar fluctuation and, scarcity of dollars. But that's part of export business. You should know that as well, what the risk factors are. Like in countries like in Nigeria now, even if I get orders, I cannot print because they don't have the dollars in the country. So unless you're ready to take the local nairas or local currency and do with your wrong sources, which is not right. So that's why we have not doing business in Nigeria. Though we have a potential and we have a lot of opportunity there. But the bigger problem is the country doesn't have dollars. So that's how you have to do. I mean, study yourself, do research well about each country, like the forex, the political structure in the country, like when are the elections, especially during election years, you have to be more careful, and watch your steps every time you go there. I mean, it's even not risky, even it's risky to go there as well those days during election years, especially in Nigeria and some other countries. Yeah, that's our journey. Like, we started from Ghana, Nigeria, Ivory Coast, Senegal. Then we went Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Congo. We did with South Africa. Now we are moving into other segment where we recently met a buying agency, which is also a good opportunity for everyone. We were just purely a textbook book printing company. Now we have just recently last month getting into exports of fancy notebooks. It's a big market there, which is actually dominated by Vietnam and China, where you can see the back to school books, stationery notebooks. It's in huge demand. It goes in like one order goes around 200 containers, 300 containers kind of thing. It goes in millions. So that's an opportunity which we missed earlier, but now I think it's the right time. Of course, right now the disturbance in paper and plate and all the stuff is getting difficult. But there's always an opportunity in future, or maybe just coming months, like, when the paper stabilize or the demand gets better. So I'm sure that, there are hardly any few Indian stationery manufacturer who can produce the high quality fancy books. It's quite fancy. It's with the leather back and all the stuff, which is a huge potential, like, like Walmarts of the world, Tesco's of the world, even the German companies like cakes and all the stuff, they're looking India is for those kind of products. FSC certified paper, which, all these things. So the only thing is like, we need to be more innovative, more stylish in terms of making the product, more creative in terms of making the new product, which usually I've seen on my own experience, people go to the fairs, they just take some books and copy the designs and all the stuff, which might not work. Now the current Indian generation, I'm sure, is quite creative, and we can get good designers in place to make this kind of fancy things, diaries or notebooks or, pads, in fact, innovative calendars, with all the stuff. So this is also high in demand. I mean, the inquiries which we got from our buying agents, usually this happens to our buying agents, all these big corporates in US, UK, Europe, they have their buying agents in across India and Middle East, and Dubai, even China. So if you try to meet them, convince them, get enrolled with them, you'll get a lot of inquiries for those products. Of course, the end thing is like, you have to be honest and give the quality, best quality product, which is rare in India though, to be honest. But with time, I think, we'll be there. There are a lot of potential, and there are the new generation who's taking lead. I'm sure, when they see the things, they will try to adopt the quality and all the stuff. So this is where, as far as my printing background is concerned, like just school education. And other segment which I wanted to say is also share is like a religious segment. Now, this religious segment, of course, it comes with a lot of sensitive issues and all the stuff, but it has a good potential in terms of business. So we started researching on, churches and even the Islamic organizations where they print heavily on, this kind of subjects, like, from Bible to religious studies, moral education, Islamic studies, and all the stuff. And it goes in millions. Trust me, if you get a right contact, they can book the whole year for your press, especially for the big organizations, who are into it. So education, religious segment, I'm just purely talking about business, so nothing sentiments in it. So education and religious are the two segments which can grow and is growing every year. Like, for us, the journey was good. Like COVID year, this year we actually did the most of it. I mean, we did 78% increment in our turnover compared to post-COVID year. And it's purely education and religious segment also. We especially tried this thing because our studies, I mean, everything is gone online. The catalog, the commercial printing is dead. So we realized, no point of targeting those kind of catalog business or directories or anything like that. But this is going to stay here. Education will stay for another 10, 15 years, according to me and according to the studies in terms of books and the stationery as well. I'm happy to answer any questions if you want to share, know more about the territory wise, if you have any questions or how to go about how to start your export business. I mean, I'm available. In fact, I can put my email address also. You can write to me. I can reply you back how to take a first step in terms of export and all the stuff.
Sir, good evening. Good evening, Narayanan here.
Yeah.
Sir, should we take the questions to the end? That's what we had actually planned. Mehta sir, what shall we do?
Madam, one simple question, please.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Narayan.
Yeah.
At least.
Nice to talk to you. Nice to listen to you too. Good informations. Sir, how do you deal with what do you call wastage for recycling of papers, please? Do you bring it here or you do the manufacturing of paper there itself, something like that?
No. See, we do printing in India actually. We don't print in Africa. So we have a printing press in Mumbai. So
after the academic year is over, these books again comes for the waste shop. Am I right? How do you recycle it?
No. See, basically what we do is like we have this specific order for the school textbooks. So once we send it containers, our job is finished. We have this letter of credit as per if you have 1 million copies to deliver, you deliver 1 million copies and that's it. For them as a publisher, if they can't sell it, they sell it next year. It's their business call. So it's usually they have their own projection in place where they know every year how much they sell. So even if there is a dead stock, it's their responsibility because we act purely as a printer, not as a publisher.
Correct.
Yeah.
The question was because the paper
No,
prices, the prices of paper is so going high.
Yeah,
Okay.
right now, yeah.
That's
Right
why I
now,
was asking, worried about recycling of paper. It's okay. Yeah, I
yeah,
understood.
yeah.
Thank you. Bye.
okay.
That was Narayan sir from Dinamalar. Thank you, sir, for joining in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nilesh. That was a wonderful speech. You started off giving a very assertive point that there are openings in Africa and your way through it, your journey through how you did it. And some of the pointers is that the charity organizations are a good opening opportunity that people. My own experience, I have seen a very small single color printer who does calendar printing, customization, that's all. He gets multicolor templates from Sivakasi and does only customization on single color on the pages of the calendar. But then he has a job around the year. That's for the charity organization. So that's a very nice area. Thank you very much. I think there should be a lot of questions from the participants. Please do put the questions in chat or keep it with you. We will move it to the end of the session, and then during the question answer session, we will have it. Dear participants, one thing you would have noticed is the sequence of the speakers has been well defined and very nicely planned by our organizer, Mr. Mehta sir. The first speaker gave you an assertive idea about how you have to and why you have to go into export. And the second speaker has told you about what are the opportunities and his own experience as a case study. Now, shall we go in to invite our next speaker? The next speaker is Mr. Ajit Shah. He is a noted export consultant, a commerce graduate from Sydenham College, Mumbai. He holds a law degree from Mumbai University. He is a member of National Advisory Board, SME Chamber of India. He has spent more than 25 years in export-import trade. He started his career as a consultant for exports and imports. He is a trainer and a faculty in the field of exports and imports. He is associated with numerous educational institutions. He had served as an EXIM consultant and also a co-editor of the All India Export-Import Weekly Journal. Now let's listen from the expert in export consultant. Over to you, sir. Sir, please unmute. Are you receiving the message?
Ajit bhai.
Ajit sir, please click unmute on your window.
Good afternoon, friends. Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. Respected Mr. P. Chandar, Satish Malhotra ji, Manoj Bhai, Nilesh Sir, Ravindra Reddy, and moderator Lakshmi Priya ji. Today's topic about print exports, game changer for your business. Let's see a situation that it is 8 o'clock in the evening. You are at the home, you have finished your dinner, and you are on the sofa watching your TV. In TV, there is a 2020 match, and this is the last over. In this last over, there are 6 balls and maybe a 15 or 20 runs are required to be done. Tell me, the batsman, the way he does the score, the way he bat the ball, the way he play the cricket, and that last over at the end will say that this last over was the game changer. Let's assume the other way around. If you are on the bowling side, there are yet to be taken, and your team is on the bowling side. 6 balls are there, and maybe the bowler does his extremely good performance and takes required 2 or 3 wickets and change the entire game. We will shout and say that yes, this bowler was a game changer. Friends, when our inspiring leader Manoj Bhai gave me this topic, this particular event came in my mind. 75 years of our independence, 16 prime ministers for the country, and 32 political parties in center. In spite of all these, one thing is very, very, very common, that all the people have a one common agenda, that is export must be encouraged. Yes, that is the agenda of the government, that we have to encourage, we have to promote, we have to get the exports on a much, much higher level. Ministry of Commerce, Government of India has placed 400 billion as the target. Let me start with a respect all the collective wisdom of the audience. I view with you, and I'm extremely happy that Nilesh and Satish has already conveyed a lot of basic data. And if I am to summarize the speeches of both the learned speaker, I will say we have to work it out, that let's go ahead with that. We need not now require to waste our time on discussing of the past or the corona. Let's tighten our belt, forget the sunset and sunrise, and focus on the extremely large market which is existing outside India. As Nilesh very rightly mentioned,
Sir?
Not audible. Hello.
I think he's having.
Lakshmi Priyaji?
Yeah, he's having
Yeah, I
some
think it's
network
not
problem.
audible, I think.
Yeah, some network problem, I think.
He's facing some network problem, I think. Yeah. But his speech was extraordinary. We are missing him. Whatever few sentences he said was mind-boggling, friends. Satish ji, let me add before Ajit Shah joins back. I think I would also like to mention here another print packaging resource that could add to our exports. Can you guess something? It is a vast pool of talent we have. All big software companies head is Indian. All big places, all the big talent is Indian. And this novel coronavirus has opened up our minds and opportunities beyond geographical boundaries. Many global companies are recruiting Indian talent. The growing emphasis on print and media education in India is further adding to our pool of human resource. So for Indians, I am sure, even my own son-in-law is the managing director of Accenture, and he's in headquarters, New York. So, see, Indian talent is also one of the very good, I can say it's to adding to our exports. Satish ji. So, I think Ajit, Lakshmi Priya ji, Ajit.
Yeah, sir, he will rejoin. He has some connection problem. He will rejoin. He just called up.
And one more I can say to add before he joins. Is one of the very important going to be in the future, and that is the digital assets. Government recently has taxed 30% on that, and this, remember my friends, this is going to be the future coming up, and digital assets is something that has value and can be owned but no physical presence. For example, I have purchased the Diwar picture poster from his producer, and that is my asset, you know. And then from that, Amitabh will be paid regularly, you know. For example, if he's owning that, so it will be bread and butter for his lifetime. I'm just giving some small example. So knowledge, even software, data, designs, patent and trade secrets, art, even music, even entertainment, media, addresses, virtual property, and last, digital currency. That is going to be the digital assets for us, all of us, in coming future, which is cryptocurrency. So next seminar on export promotion will be on digital assets. Over to Ajit Shah, is very much joined.
Well, so continuing what I was mentioning to you, for those who wants to enter into exports for their benefits, please understand what Satish has mentioned, that as an exporter, the government is providing you a scheme which is under Ministry of Finance, which is called a duty drawback scheme. For all chapter 48, 49 items, 1.3% to 1.7% is the duty drawback you get. So when you export 100 rupees, you get this many percentage by way of a government in terms of your incentives. Similarly, there's another scheme which is a road tap introduced from 1st January 2021, in which also approximately 1.1% to 2.4% is what the benefits government is giving. Under chapter 4, there is a scheme called advance authorization. Extremely good thing when this is the scheme which makes you more competitive. Under this scheme, all your inputs like a paper, ink, whatever you required as an input, scheme is also available in chapter 5. This particular scheme is for the exports of the goods for which you required your machinery, capital goods, which you can import at a 0% duty. And under this scheme, you can go ahead with this. Government of India slowly over a period of time is in favor of going and reducing the incentives, but infrastructure, which is very, very important for the exporters, that is the focus government is having. Prime Minister Gati Shakti program is also very, very important program which has already started and will give the result to the Indian exporters over a period of time. We know the cost of finance in India is higher as compared to our competitors' country overseas. Very recently, Reserve Bank of India has published, rather introduced one of the old scheme of equalization scheme that is now on 8th of March. This announcement was done by RBI and RBI circular number 180, in which all these details are given. So what is very important now for the exporter is that exporter has to be extremely aggressive, as it was mentioned that you have to go travel overseas and need to work it out with this. I will just put it with reference to World War First in 1914 and World War II, which was in 1939. Post-World War, the entire situation has undergone substantial change exactly in the same way. COVID, Corona 2019, this pandemic disruption will also have altogether a new life after this. And you have to approach global market very, very aggressively for this part of it. So export promotion for print, for packaging, for the converters is now a time which you need to work it out. So what is to be done? The first thing what all the companies, all the people, all the organization who wants to go for exports need to revisit the knowledge area. Please remember, you have to get updated information about the present and new requirement after the COVID. Now, when we hear a doorbell and we feel that the delivery boy from the e-commerce has arrived, so that will give us an idea that not only in India, but throughout the global, the e-commerce related packaging industry, which is growing to a substantial amount. E-commerce business has multiplied many times, and therefore the requirement of the boxes, cartons for packing of e-commerce products, which has gone up to a many more multiple times. So those who are in the packaging industries can definitely work it out, this new avenue which is going along with the pharmaceutical, which has gone very strongly. This packaging should be strong enough for a safe delivery, but it should be easily disposable after it has reached the customer. So you need to know your market. Similarly, the food delivery from the restaurant has increased substantially, and for that also your packaging will be required. Reading of the paper books and the newspaper has reduced to a substantial, which will also have an impact on your products. Friends, as you are all aware, that impact of your profitability as well as your commitment part is concerned. One new thing which all the exporters should understand is that with effect from 1st January 2022, all the HS code have reorganized and they have come to the new, which you need to work it out with this. A question is often being asked that how to be successful in exports. There can be many theories, there can be several recipes, but if am I to point out one only point on which you can easily drive on and can achieve the success, you can bring the business home, and that is the delivery. Unfortunately, our reputation in the global market, being a regularity in the delivery, is not that as it should have been. So you as a new exporter, you as please make the strong factor. And for that, I have observed that what happens whenever the overseas buyer asks you for a delivery, we very, very casually just say 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, often from the mind without really doing the working part of it. For many of my clients, what we are doing as we do the costing, where we sit on a computer or sit with the paper and do everything in writing, my request to the newcomer is that please do the calculation of the delivery period on a paper, and that is how basically you need to work it out with this. Trust me, out of my experience of 40 years in this line, I will tell you, the moment you are delivering the goods on time, every time, you will create a kind of a trust in the mind of the buyer, and that will be the good winning point for you. And the orders getting in the future for the past timely delivery as buying a newspaper. Documentation, you need to understand different countries will have different documents requirement. You need to comply with those documentation, understand it, and then comply with that part of it. Very rightly, Satish has mentioned that we are not only selling the goods, but we are also selling the services. For to ignore it, you need to ask the buyer, you need to understand from the buyer what are the requirements in his country. Do not go by your own judgment. It is always wise, it is always beneficial what are the additional requirement he will have in this particular product and comply with it. Or in any case, if you cannot comply with that, please be ready, inform to him, and you can avoid your future problem for non-compliance part of it. Best quality and the prompt services at a competitive rate is a summary in which you can work it out. Yes, the outsider can stop your progress temporarily. Outsider can stop your progress temporarily, but the only person who can stop your progress is yourself. So you need to change your thinking. You need to think globally. You need to work it out the way you require this particular part of this. And that is how basically you need to operate on this particular part of it. Now, foreign exports, as there are different 7 techniques which you can utilize for the purpose of marketing of your product. Yes, before that, you should have your product analysis. You should identify which products you are going to export, which product will have the potential. We all know that the books, notebooks, etc. are the very widely demanded product. Satish has already provided you with the statistics. The few more products which also can be sold, they are the different forms of the various banks. There are stickers and the labels which are also being demanded. Paperbacks, these are also very important aspects for which you can work it out with this. As far as the certain countries are concerned, yes, you need to work it out with those countries which are demanding more into Indian products. For that part of it, yes, there are certain countries which you can identify, but from the statistics, if you go by it, USA is very big importer of the Indian products, print products. United Arab Emirates, what we call it a Middle East or a Dubai, is also a these are the countries which by the world is looking at India for their requirements. We only have to get ourselves geared up, and this kind of a webinar, this kind of a knowledge session to understand your product. That export is not difficult, but export is a different, and that different you need to understand. Commitment level is required to be very, very high. If you have to be extremely competitive, if you think that you are a champion, then there are challengers. You have to be the international market, which is full of opportunities. You can capture it once you decide that you wanted to go for it. And that's how basically you need to work it out. At the somebody asked me that what is the right time to start my exports? My answer was, your right time to start export was 10 years before for the first time, and second time it is today. So in the last, I can say that if you decide to go for it, if you gear up with that, you will definitely able to achieve what you intend to do it, provided you play the game the way you require to do it in the international market. So हुन्नर तुम सीख लो किस्ती चलाने का, हुन्नर तुम सीख लो किस्ती चलाने का, वरना समंदर में तूफान तो आते ही रहेंगे. थैंक यू वेरी मच.
Lakshmi Priyaji.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you very much, sir, for the very nice, wonderful speech. It has been a continuity of what the other two speakers have told. Thank you very much. Dear
Any questions,
participants, if you have any questions, please post it on the chat. Mehta sir, shall we?
We have a few questions, Lakshmi Priyaji. Around 15 questions we already have.
Shall we start with that?
If we can. Yeah. We start with that one by one.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'll start with the first question. The first question is,
Yeah.
Which print product has an export market apart from books, notebooks, etc.? This is from Bosco, Texeria.
Packaging also is having a very big market in exports. So other than books and periodicals, as even Satish ji told, playing cards also is having a very big export market. So many different products, other kind of packaging, even greeting cards, even coffee table books, even so many products, which I think Capexil can give full details what is being exported from India to all over the world. Next question.
Can
Lakshmi
25,
Priyaji?
yeah, can 25 print companies come together and create a hub? From Mr. Rupesh Sawant.
Yes, definitely. If you have 25 companies together and you like to invest in Dubai or Abu Dhabi, land is nearly free of cost. Nearly free of cost. And you have to create an infrastructure, and government of Abu Dhabi and UAE will definitely, I'm just giving one example of UAE because I am very much frequent there. So you can definitely have a very good cluster out there. Government will go out full support. Even there are clusters coming up from China and other people in UAE after this Chinese disruption happened. So definitely it is advantage India. One should pick up and get together. There is ample of opportunities. You can have a cluster. Thanks.
Next question from Mr. Satish Kumar PV. How to secure jobs with assured payments?
Ajit bhai.
Yeah, there are 3 methods in which you can do it out. If your prices are very, very competitive, and if you can achieve that level of confidence, then obviously you will ask for an advance payment, which is a more than secure. But this is more in theory. In reality, no overseas buyer in the beginning for a newcomer like you will give you the advance payment. So the option which is left out with you is a letter of credit. So LC is a mechanism whereby through the bank and based on the documents, you can get your payment assured, because in the letter of credit under UCP 600, the responsibility to make the payment is that of the bank and not that of the buyer. And bank will make the payment provided your documents are as per the letter of credit.
Next question.
In reality, there are several overseas buyers who are not willing to open a LC under one or other pretext. In that case, if you are forced to do DA or a DP basis, then I will suggest that you can go for Export Credit Guarantee Corporation, excellent organization, and under the ECGC, you can cover your risk of the credit to the extent of 80%. Of late, the new tool is called Factor. Also, the international factoring has started, and that also without recourse. In the sense, if the buyer fails to make the payment, the factoring company take the risk, and if they do not recover back from you, that is what option you can work it out. So these are the 4 methods in which you can select the one suits to an individual transaction. Yes, sir.
Yes. Next
question. How do we connect to importers?
How to
connect to
Come again?
importers?
How to connect the importers? Ajit bhai.
Yeah,
I think
for
Nilesh, he was
contact
telling about you have to research and find
overseas importer, there are 7 techniques which most of the exporter globally Hello, am I audible?
Now fine.
Now you are audible now.
Am I audible?
Yes.
So I was mentioning there are 7 techniques which all over the world, all the global players are using. The first one is your friends.
I think again problem. Are you Lakshmi
Yes.
He's audible?
No,
I don't think
he has dropped. He's been dropped out because of network problem. He has joined again. Wait.
Okay.
So please unmute.
Unmute. Ajit bhai, unmute.
Aji. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So the second technique, as I mentioned, is a correspondence which includes the email. It includes the websites, social medias. Third one, which is a very, very powerful and effective, that is a personal visit or travel abroad. Most of our members, those who are successful, as Satish has mentioned, about 600 companies are already in the exports. They are, I'm too sure, one or other time need to travel overseas, meet the buyer, gain the confidence, and discuss with him across the table. Fourth one is appointing an agent. You appoint the overseas agent who does your work when you're not there. Fifth one is advertisement. You do the advertisement in the local paper over there or the TV channel, although it is a very costly proposition. The next one is participating in exhibitions, trade shows. Next one is buyer-seller meet organized by the various organizations, chambers, export promotion council, government. The next one is a delegation, as our organization do take the delegation overseas. And the last technique is a tender. So these are the 7 or 8 techniques of capturing the overseas buyer, which of course needs a lot of detailed discussion, but this is just the, I have run through the titles, and combination of all these things is what most of the exporters throughout the world are using, and you also can use it and bring the buyers to your door. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you,
Next.
sir. The next question is, this is from Parthasarathi Palanisamy. I am a small business person. How can I cater to the needs of clients in other countries?
How can I
cater to the needs of clients in other countries?
I think you need to check with Capexil, and there are lots and lots of requirements coming up, maybe small or big, every now and then from all over the world to Capexil. And I think definitely that will help him, because if he is a small printer, if nobody is small, first of all, everybody is big. Don't take you as a small printer. People are going from small to big only. So definitely, and even you have anything which you like to meet in person or something like that, definitely you are most welcome. We'll definitely advise you properly. Even Mr. Ajit Shah will also help you.
I
Thank you.
will add to what Manoj Bhai has said. If you are a small, you know your limitations, please select the market which is having a small, like I'll give the example. If you are a printer having a small capacity, do not go to Dubai or UAE, go to Doha, Qatar, which is a small market, or a Muscat, which is a small market. So in that, it will appropriate to you. Second, if you are a small, then take a specialized order wherein a lot of customization is required, because customization and a small export goes hand to gloves, and that will be very, very important. Third is, if you are a small exporters, so appoint somebody in the overseas, so your agent will collect multiple orders, but small orders. So having an agent in that market, these are the three ways you can develop, even though you are a small. But remember, you being a small is not a limitations in the exports.
Even I add, Ajit Bhai, in that, see, I will give one very valid example. There is a Love Pop, L-O-V-P-O-P, Love Pop, who pitched on the Shark Tank. They were very in USA. They were very small, they were doing laser engraving and for greeting cards and other things. And they have started with very small way, with laser cutting, engraving on greeting cards and on so many various objects. And now there are multi-million-dollar company. He got definitely support from Shark Tank by Kevin, and they are now having a very huge market overall. So it is not small. It is the idea. It is the idea that sells. So
very good.
If you have some very novel idea and it can sell, definitely there is a market in the world.
Correct.
Thank you. Lakshmi Priya, next.
Thank you, sir. The next is from Mr. Surendra Dote. How to cope up with competition and unfair ways of bureaucrats?
Nilesh?
What's that?
How to cope up with competition and unfair ways of bureaucrats?
Unfair way of bureaucrats. Okay. Now this is a good question, especially when it comes to some kind of tender business or so basically with time, everything is fading away. Like I remember earlier, like 10 years back, there were a lot of unfair practices, like a lot of Indian printer were even blacklisted also. But nowadays, the World Bank, when you see these are the tenders where World Bank funds, now they have their own people on there. So recently, from last 5 years, I don't think there is an unfair practices going on. If you see even the record or check the all tenders, the lowest bidder always get it, unless he's if it's not capability wise not capable. So if he has the capacity and he's the lowest, for sure he'll get it, the job. These days, I mean, from last 4 or 5 years, I've seen tremendous changes world over, and he's right. The question was right, because last some years back, there was a lot of malpractices and corruption and all this stuff. But with time, I think it's fading away now.
Thank you. The next question is,
next.
What do you think India export market will be after 5 years? From Nayan Rawal.
Ajit Bhai.
Extremely good. If you want to capture the market after 5 years, start from today only. Volume will go multiple times, because the present government, it is not your agenda. It's not a capexil agenda. It's a government agenda. And to grow internationally, we are now in an extremely better position in the eyes of the world. And it is only if at all anything will be shortfall, then it will be us. I think it is a right time to start exports. Gear up yourself, tight your belt, forget sunset and sunrise, work hard. Quality is what you need to focus. The world will be after you Only thing is that you have to play the game exactly as required in the international way. 5 years after, the market will go up like anything, because the way it is multiplied, now it is a quantum jump which we are going to get it. And I have a tremendous confidence that what has been done in last 40 years will be equivalent, will be done in the next 5 years. So extremely good support from the government. Take the simple example, during the corona, when nobody was working, government was working. And export was going on in spite of the no labor, no transport, all those things. Figures Satish has already given that we have increased. And now if in the bad time we do so much, in the good time we are going to do it surely good. So go ahead with that. Huge good profit is, and the opportunities are awaiting for you. It's you who to capture it.
Thank you, sir. The next
Great.
question.
74%, he said 74% increase in the
It is
export during this
substantial.
pandemic.
It is substantial.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. The next
Yeah,
question is from our past president, Mr. Govind Bhargava. Why China manufacturing wins compared to India? How Chinese became global factory of the world? When and how it will be game changer for India?
Yes.
Yeah.
China manufactured 28.7% of the global manufacturing in 2019, 28.7%, which is higher by 10% than the USA, which USA was a world leader top manufacturer till 2010. So let's understand what has made China as the world factory. The first thing, which is very, very important, that was a cheap and efficient labor which was available over there. Of course, this factor is now slowly fading out. But the productivity and the cost at which the China was doing is unbeatable. Second is that the market dynamics which influence the prices, the lower cost was one of the big aspects for this. In one of the last lecture, Mr. Piyush Goyal mentioned is the large scale production. Yes, the scale up. The country, even the Manoj Bhai, what he mentioned about the PI scheme, that is also focusing on scalability. If the scale, so sooner or later, whether we like it or not, we have to go by the scale, and a lot of advantage will come.
Sir, yes.
Lakshmi Priji, I think audible.
No, he's come.
Ajit bhai, audible.
Sir, unmute, sir.
Satish ji, can you add?
Well, rightly so. I mean, we also travel to China and we try to analyze quite a bit. Well, just giving you a bit of the flavor, China is a country where firstly, the population doesn't follow any religion. And secondly, there is no politics. So the average worker is more of a robot. He's been indoctrinated to work, sleep, eat, and be happy. It is not like in India, we spend 2 hours on religion, 3 hours in politics, and then try to think what we have to do. When we go and we walk into a factory in China and 2,000 workers are working there, no one even raises his head or an eyebrow to see who is walking into their halls. In an Indian factory, the moment there is a foreigner coming into your factory, I will see all the workers, want to leave their work and have to look what is happening. So all I wanting to say that they have very cheap labor. They are mechanical, robotized kind of temperament that has been got built over there. And initially, the Chinese government provided them with a lot of subsidies in terms of raw materials. If they could book an order at any rate, the government will help them supply that order. But friends, I think that process is now over. China has decided to, limit the so-called low-cost donkey work and go up the value chain. That is why they have now started coming with all kind of pollution laws and other laws. And now we are experiencing that Chinese goods are also becoming expensive.
Absolutely. And
And
second,
one more thing, Sateshji, one more thing, Sateshji.
Yeah.
Like anti-dumping duty imposed by America on China, 25%.
Yes.
Do you think it is advantage India or anybody in the world?
See, at the moment, it is definitely advantageous to India because Chinese goods at this particular time have become very expensive for the American market, and even the sentiments in the American market are not there to promote the Chinese goods. So it all now boils down to how innovatively we can be present there and try to fill that gap and substitute their supplies with our supplies.
So we in India must encash. We in India must encash this situation. Printers in India must encash this situation.
America is a very good opportunity. Rather, I would say that when the pandemic really came in February 2020, we had taken a delegation and we were exhibiting our products at New York when the pandemic really broke down. And I mean, in the last 2 years, unfortunately, these physical fairs have not happened. Now we do again have some at CapExcel in our calendar of events. We are again having some American events, and if things normalize, then those fairs will happen, and we will like most of our members to take the benefit, come across, see the market, see the potential, see the buyers, and try to convert the potentiality into business.
Sateshji, the next question is.
Ajit bhai, you like to add?
Yeah, I just want to say, see, industrial production is not in isolation. But in China, the whole ecosystem, all the department compliance are so simple. I will tell you, our one of the learned president of the FIO, Mr. Sharaf, he has started his factory over there, and after that, he has given his own experience. It was a mind-boggling. The way he got the government approvals, the facilities, it was unbelievable. For anyone who wants to do the factory production, the ecosystem in China for a manufacturer is a par excellent. And that is the reason China has become the world's factory.
Okay, great. Next, Lakshmi Priyaji.
Yeah, the next question is to Satish Ji from Mr. STR Suresh, our past president. He says, why CapExcel has stopped MDA, Market Development Assistant grant to their members who are potential entrepreneurs and exporters of the country? Any other kind of support CapExcel is willing to give to exporters? He's asking.
Yeah, well, friends, actually, all this support comes from the Ministry of Commerce, and it gets routed through the CapExcel. MDA was one facility which has now got substituted, and it is no longer called MDA, but we have other market access initiatives. MEI scheme is operative. Under this scheme, if we are able to take about 20 participants and go to any fair, I mean, to a great extent, the fairs are subsidized. I would say the MDA scheme has been remodeled. MDA scheme does not exist in the way it used to be earlier. I think from experience, they have learned how to improve the scheme and also plug in the loopholes in the scheme. See, there were also instances earlier that people would just register a firm and go on MDA and were really not in the business. So to those kind of loopholes have been plugged. But people who are very serious and who want to participate, this scheme again is very much in operative under a new name of MEI schemes, and we do get subsidy from the ministry to take these initiatives, and we are planning some events to do so. While these physical fairs were not happening, the government has also been instrumental in subsidizing our conducting the virtual trade fairs. So as far as from the ministry, the thrust, the focus and the budgets are still there. It is for up to be able to utilize them in the right manner for the right purpose.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Lakshmi, next.
The next question is from another past president, Mr. Ravi Joshi, sir. This is to Mr. Nilesh. He first congratulates you, sir, for being one of the biggest exporter of the country. He says, reading your success story in Print Week, you are manufacturing, exporting 40 lakh books per day, was exporting to Africa, I suppose. Similarly, Manipal is having 4 lakhs. Similarly, Manipal is having label units in Nairobi, Nigeria, and they are very successful. If I plan to have a unit in Nigeria or any other African country, what is the advice? I will start book printing and will I get enough work? Is what he is asking.
I didn't get the name of the
Mr.
Ravi
Ravi Joshi.
Mr. Joshi. Yeah.
From
Of course, I
Pune.
mean, it's a way forward, good thinking that, to establish a company there, that's a very brave decision. I mean, brave thoughts. But, you have to see, we've been contemplating the same thing. It depends on product to product. Now, see, as I'm sure even you are into education books because you're planning a book printing. Education book printing is a seasonal job, So basically, if you put any one particular country, suppose the books season is in September, so you will get the business from April to August. After September, there'll be no business as such because the books will be already in the market and you have to wait for the next year. So that's the only reason we set up. We are still in India because now what we do September season from India. After September season, we go to the market with the season in January, like in Kenya and Tanzania, the school starts in January. So the whole year gets busy with that if you're in here. Unless you do exports from that particular country to other countries where the season is different so that you can make your factory busy all year around. Unlike when you said Manipal, they're into label printing. So that thing is not a seasonal business. That's a yearly contract with the companies. So if you achieve that, if your relations are there, you have agents there, that's a good idea to get into publishing, packaging or label printing, where you don't have to rely on a particular season. Your requirements for the companies are all around the year. So that's a good idea. And I'm sure in next 5 years, there are a lot of, in fact, Indians and Chinese, they're putting presses there. And it's been a game changer for themselves as well. A small printer in Ghana has become very big printer now within 2 years. They do everything from book printing to packaging to labels, everything. So if you have that kind of mindset, I will say it's a good idea. But Nigeria for now, we have to be careful because the cost of production is too high because there's no electricity, stable electricity. Everything runs on the generator there. So the cost of production is quite high. And Ghana is a good market, and other countries like Guinea-Bissau, Senegal, Ivory Coast is a good place to set up a factory. Even Kenya is very good to set up a factory.
Yeah, even Nilesh, the currency devaluation is major.
Nigeria, yeah. So Nigeria is quite tricky because you cannot repatriate your money back. It's there's a lot of illegal activities you might end up doing, in frustration because it's not a simple country to work with to open office or factory right now. Maybe after this election, if something happens, some stabilization happens, then you can rethink over Nigeria. But right now, I don't recommend anything there.
So I think, and moreover, you said it is seasonal. So better
education is seasonal.
Be India and cater the world.
Yeah. So then you can cater to different part of the world, like one season for Nigeria, other season for East Africa, some season for South Africa, and of course India as a domestic market is big enough to cater at least 3 months of printing. So you all are on your machines when it's a high capex investment, so you have to be busy all around the year.
Great.
Yeah, sir.
Thanks.
So it's really very heartening to hear that book publishing and printing really have a lot of scope more. So if anybody talks against printing, please printers promote printing. And if you see tweets and social media announcements saying that printers are not going to exist, print is going to die, please definitely make sure that you oppose it right there. Thank you. And we'll go to the next question. This is from Mr. Rishi Kumar. Government should control prices. He has not asked any question. It's a statement.
Satyaji.
Our industry is really seeing the impact of tremendous price increase. Paper prices, aluminum prices, film prices, they have all gone astronomical. But at this particular juncture, these prices are also due to the aberration of disorder in a lot of manufacturing and logistics within the world. A lot of economies, a lot of trade has got affected. Imports of goods is affected into our country. Basic raw materials are not freely trading throughout the world. So at present, I think we have had some interaction. We have tried to pose some questions to the government as to why some restrictive kind of or some kind of sanity be brought into this prices. But I think the government is slightly waiting and watching to see that if some kind of normality is achieved. Otherwise, if these irregularities and the abnormalities which have kept come into the system temporarily, if they can be smoothened and the prices get corrected, then maybe things will be better. But if they really don't, I think time will come when government will have to wake up. At the moment, I think they are waiting and watching.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Next.
The next question is from Mr. Vipul Pandey. What do you suggest for the way out for the commercial printers in their existing step out, which is not much friendly with packaging? Commercial printers existing setup, which is not friendly with packaging.
Well, you see, the commercial print business is almost negligible now. It is dying out. The digital foray has already taken it over, and the so-called production capabilities which exist with that person, he has to evaluate as to which is the nearest print services or segments of print requirements where he can deploy his equipment. I think it is something very individual, which has to be studied, keeping in terms of his capabilities, his region, his resource, his market. Ideally, we are seeing that most of the commercial printers are trying to migrate into packaging, but packaging is definitely not a very simple game, and the print production capacities for commercial print only offer you a very small area of work in the totality of packaging requirements. I am very fearful. I feel that for most of the printers who are migrating to packaging, there are going to be a handful who will really be successful, and there are quite many who are not going to be very, very successful. So I personally feel that he has to reinvent his business, thinking in terms of within his own environment, which are the areas which he can exploit to his advantage.
When I add, Satyajji, one more point. In present infrastructure, what you can create the packaging, you do it.
Yes.
Don't invest much more before getting the market. You can may outsource. Otherwise, you will end up in investments, and definitely without any market, then again, it will be a big question for you. So first, you definitely go around, just check whether you get a proper market. Whatever you can print on your commercial print setup, packaging, that you can do definitely. And otherwise, you can outsource also before putting more investments. So that will be right way. And if you are getting success, then you can definitely go ahead. Right. Lakshmi Priyaji.
The next question is from Mr. Palanisamy Balasubramaniam. He is asking what kind of print products to be exported.
What kind of?
Print products can be exported. These are questions that came with the registration, and he's not here, so maybe we have to repeat what the speaker said.
Satyajji, you want to add?
Yes. Well, see, let us be, in exports, see, our survey, what we export is a mix of commodity and services, because what we are doing is containing content, And the moment you are doing something where content is dynamic, then it becomes a service oriented. And you know, that is where you have to find your expertise. If you want to ask me what is the easier way out, I would say the easier way out would be to export commoditized paper products. Now, it is very easily said than done. You know, there are not very many products which are only simply commoditized. Most of anything which we do has to be dynamic. There has to be printing. There has to be some kind of content. So the question is, you have to devise. Suppose, see, today there are paper bags which are being exported. There is cup stock. You know, even all kind of stationery products are going. Food industry is requiring a lot of things. Cosmetic industry is requiring. Now, these are all packagings, various kind of packagings. So you have to identify which is the customer you have. You have to service the customer's needs. So wherever your reach is there, wherever you can outreach and you can have those orders, it may be worth exploring. Because you just can't sit over a product and think that someone is going to look for your product and buy it. There are not very many commoditized products which can be sold by the print industry. This is my feeling.
Great.
The next question is from, shall we go to the next question, sir?
Yeah.
No. The next question is from Mr. Dachepalli Kumar. We are willing to export our published books related to school children. He's coming up with a voluntary service. Is there anybody who can tell? He's not available here. Probably he's asking a support or a lead to.
So he wants
Nilesh, can you-
children book exports. You see, children books and activity books and coloring books. These are there is a very big market internationally for these kind of products. But then you see, all these products have to be catered and customized to those local markets. There are markets which are Spanish. There is a big chunk of countries where Spanish language is prevalent. Somewhere there is English language is prevalent. Then there are, you know, if you go to the Middle East or the Arabic countries, then the whole scheme changes. So the question is, they have to go to their customers. And there are very specialized trade fairs for children books. There is one of the best fair is in Bologna in Italy, which is one of the biggest trade fair for children books. I expect this fair is just around the corner.
It's a fair city, Bologna. It's for packaging also.
Yeah, even for packaging. So I mean, if you are having a range of your own children and activity books, it's worth going to all these fairs, showing your quality to the various so-called international buyers. Either if your product is universal, that can be find acceptance, or you will have to customize the product to the requirements of their customer. There is a reasonably good market for children books and activity books.
Great.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Mr. Dharmavarapu Nagarjuna. He says, business-wise, have we completely resumed normal operation post-COVID?
Business-wise?
Have we completely resumed?
We have resumed. Everybody has resumed now. Yes. I think post-COVID, business are as normal throughout the world, rather I can say. So people are back on track very much.
Even travel even traveling is becoming like earlier, like, you know.
Yeah, Nilesh, can you add? Nilesh, can you add?
Business wise, even for exports, like even traveling is getting back to same, you know, old days, like, you know, there's no COVID test anymore, you know, so it's much easier, like compared to what 3 months back it was, like you do COVID test in every city you go. Right now it's a lot of restrictions are, you know, removed. Yes. So now it's getting back to normal, you know.
Yeah, I think we are fast approaching normalcy, and we are near normalcy.
Right. Great. Yeah.
The next question is from Mr. Beam Shankar. He just put
Hmm.
benefits for exports. I'm not sure what he means by that. Benefits
Ajit
for
bhai?
exports.
Yeah.
Just tips.
See, benefits for the exports, if you divide them into two parts. So one is you as a manufacturer, if this is the basics of the manufacturing, if you have a more market access, you will always have a stability, because if the one market is lean or it's a slow, the another market can give you the orders and your factory runs. Ultimately, your success as a manufacturer depends upon running of your machines continuously. So this is the first. So I will say that one of the biggest advantages is that you have a more than a one market. So one is your domestic market. Second is an international market, which is substantially more. And those global market also, if you divide country-wise as a market, I think you will be always loaded with one or other orders and your machines will continue. This is one part of it. So that's a benefit. Second is, because of your exports, your volume will go up. That will give you the several benefits to you on a large scale basis. And third, your exports will also get support from the government by way of incentives. So if you put all together, the exports will have definitely an advantage. And simple way to verify my statement is, you take 10% of the top companies in any field, list them out. Either you go by the share value, profit, turnover, number of employees, whatever the yardstick you select, take the first 10% of the top companies and look at their balance sheet. Their balance sheet is fatty because of the exports. And that is a well-known principle, need no further proof to be done. So export is always beneficial to the manufacturer.
Great.
Even the
Yeah.
loans from the bank, even the loans from the bank, the PCFC.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like advantage. And then hedging of dollars, you have a hidden profit even there as well. So there are a lot of other hidden profits as well. Like
Credential of the company, image of the company, everything will go plus.
Yes. Thanks, Nilesh. Thanks.
The next question is
Yeah,
from
Lakshmi,
Mr. V.S. Narayanan. Need to know about the possibility of centrally export all goods related to print product through organized logistics.
Through organized logistics.
Yeah, possibility to centrally export all goods related to printed product through organized logistics.
Nilesh, you want? You can.
no, I mean, see, logistics is a separate segment by all itself. Like a printer's job gets over. I mean, when the goods are ex factory or FOB Mumbai. Again, if you take an export order, then you have to tie with the logistic companies, which are already professional and organized. There are Bolero, there's Mercs. You tie with them, and I think it's already organized. I didn't get the question properly, but according to me, the logistics segment of this is in fact much more organized lately. All the big companies like Mercs, Bolero, and Hapag-Lloyd. So it's been taken care by them.
Great.
The next question is from Mr. Pradeep Heru. He just put the word export. I think we'll skip that. Mr. R.K. Sridharan, what is the future about printing technology?
Printing technology is already transformed into print media. And definitely you have to get change. You have to be with the time. You have to be with the latest technology. You must go tech slowly. And definitely there will be a extraordinary future for printing industry. Certainly, export is booming, as Nilesh already mentioned in his speech. Even Satish ji has mentioned so many different examples, like playing cards and like all. Even packaging is marketing like anything. It is advantage India compared to China at present. If you are marketing to such countries like US or such countries where they have anti-dumping duty on Chinese product. So I'm sure even what segment you are in, that is different thing. What kind of printing you are doing, That is also one of the things that we are in packaging or you are in other market. But definitely printers have a very excellent, bright future. I have already mentioned before. Also, the future is digital, and Nilesh will agree with me. Digital assets
Yes.
are selling like hotcake now.
Yes.
It's going to be the future, Nilesh.
I think so. It's actually much easier way even for doing business. But the only problem I see is like how legality will, the government will play important role in that. Like if given a chance, in export, about you.
30% tax also on digital assets. I think.
Yeah, even after the tax, I think it's the mode of payment is clear, like USDT and USDT, how it works. Like it's much easier to get money from any country in the world. But only thing is like how they legalize is the issue.
Ajit bhai, anything you like to add?
No, I think technology per se is a future. It's not for tomorrow, but even day after tomorrow, you will definitely need the technology. Only thing, adaptability at an appropriate level of technology
Your proper
is very, very important rather than
see what happens.
Too much of the advanced technology versus suitable technology is a big challenge to the manufacturer.
No, you should
what happens in see, according in global, like Turkey is getting in closer to India in terms of export and competition. Even UAE, up to some extent, they want to promote, manufacturing there in Dubai and Ras Al Khaimah and all that stuff. I mean, if they adopt this thing much before than any other country, of course they will have a advantage, because worldwide there's a problem of now US dollars and other currencies. So this is the only future which can be much easier, and those countries who adopt it first will have a first more advantage. I've seen this in my even have some clients, Africa, they deal in Turkey, that they use all these digital assets and all this stuff. How it works, which I'm not sure right now, but it's working everywhere. Dubai is much more legal now. Dubai, I think next 1 year, it will work everywhere, every part, in every store. And they will take that advantage for sure. I don't know about the printing, because Dubai is not that good in printing yet. It's still expensive. But I mean, India in terms of exports should also get into it. That's why they're actually accepting it, though with tax, but they should accept it legally in a certain way. And once it's accepted, once it's boom, once it becomes very common, I'm sure there's no looking back then. Then probably, people who start late will have a disadvantage.
Yes, perfect.
The next question is from Mr. Ramu Ramanathan. Manoj Bhai and Ajit Bhai, what are the certifications an SME needs to have in place before one embarks on exports?
Ajit bhai.
Yeah.
Right.
See, as far as the certification is concerned, as far as the India is concerned, export of any product, what we basically require in organization, it's PAN number and the GST. These are the basic requirements for your organization. And moment you decide to go for exports, there is a single registration called Importer Exporter Code Number, which is an IC, which is a very simple, which you can get it online. And incidentally, your PAN card itself will be converted or will be treated as your IC code. So this is the only one registration is required. Then depend upon your export product. There can be an additional document like an export license you require, but majority of the product, and mainly for our chapter 48 and 49 chapter product, apart from the IC, your normal GST, your PAN card, there is no document required. If you are doing for the first time exports, then with your port authority, you require a EDI registration or what we call a AD code registration with that. Otherwise, the procedure wise, it is extremely simple. If you think that you want to start it, you can start it on the paper side, ready in another 1 week time. That's all.
Yeah, and you need to select proper HSN code.
Yes.
So that you must mention, otherwise it will be paperwork should be properly done well. if you are like to claim benefits in, right, Ajit bhai? After export. Right? Ajit Shah is out right now.
Okay. The next question is to Mr. Nilesh.
Yeah.
What currency is preferable for trade?
Of course, it's a US dollars. I mean, international trade.
US dollars.
Of course, if you do
Yes.
you do with Europe, then it's euro, and then any other countries is US dollar.
Not crypto anymore.
Crypto in India is I'm still not confident, to have wallets, and we don't have the safe wallets as well to in the bank's system in place to keep crypto.
USD, I think US dollar is the most prominent currency, right, Nilesh?
Yes. And coming years, I think USDT.
The next question is to Mr. Satish. What is the future of pre-media firms? Some international biggies are in India, but have Indian firms started exporting?
Satishji? Satishji, you are there? Repeat the question.
Yeah, hello, maybe.
Yeah,
Can you hear me? Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the question refers to exports of digital services of the print industries. Is that what I am understanding?
Yeah, pre-media companies.
Yeah. See, there is a lot of opportunity. There are a few companies. There is a company called Aptara, and there are others who are only selling content. They are creating ebooks. They are selling content, HTML, and all these digital services are growing. So, I mean, you have to devise your own. I think everyone has to devise his own journey. You have to you have to specialize to offer extraordinary services. There are buyers for it. And if you can really convert that into business, you create a success story. So the future of companies who can empower themselves in using all these print media services and then scale it with all kind of digital initiatives, ride the digital wave, and serve their customers, the potential is definitely
Good. Any more? Because I think Lakshmi Priyaji.
Yeah, we are done with the questions.
Done with the questions. Great.
Yeah.
So Ravinderji, are you there? Mr. Ravinder Reddy?
Yes, I'm here.
I will have to let me do the honors.
Yeah.
Please.
So, dear friends, we are at the end of the webinar today. I think it has gone very well with a lot of questions answered and a lot of points being discussed as well. So, we are coming to the end. May I have the honor of requesting our honorary General Secretary of AIFMP, Mr. Ravindra Reddy, to come over for vote of thanks. Mr. Ravindra Reddy is the MD of Shravya Graphics at Hyderabad. He is the president of TOPA and also has been the AIFMP's Vice President South. He has received Seva Samrat Award in August 2019 for his excellent social service. He has organized 235th GC meeting at Ramoji Film City, Hyderabad, the Print Fair 2018 exhibition, the Print Business Outlook Conference, and international seminar on power of packaging at Hyderabad. So let's call upon Mr. Ravindra Reddy for the vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Good evening, madam. Yeah. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
I hope you all enjoyed this informative and knowledgeable webinar. It is my proud privilege to present a formal vote of thanks at the conclusion of the webinar, Print Exports, Game Changer for Your Business, organized by All India Federation of Master Printers for the benefit of printing industry. Our grateful thanks to Mr. Satish Malhotra, past president and chairman government relations, AFMP. Thank you, sir, for your very interesting and thought-provoking keynote address. We are also thankful to Sri Manoj Mehtaji, chairman Export Promotion Committee, past president AFMP, who gave a lot of insight into this webinar. He is always a guide force behind our AFMP. I also grateful to Sri Nilesh Dhankarni, CEO and MD Quarterfold Printabilities. Who is speaker today, is a guest speaker today, who elaborated very well on the needs, benefits, and procedural practice for export promotion. We are highly thankful to him for his enlightening presentation. I would like to thank our distinguished guest speaker, Sri Ajit Shah, for making excellent presentation and making this webinar interesting and meaningful. Sri Ajit Shah, since several years, he has been a great support to AFMP. Heartfelt thanks to our President Sri T. Chandragaru for being the instrumental in hosting this webinar and for the welcome address. Our grateful thanks to Sri Ramu Ramanathan of Print Week as a media partner and Sri Vijayji, Associate Editor of Print Week, to converting the event and twisting about the webinar. Thanks also to Professor Srimati Lakshmi Priya for our excellent moderating of the webinar.
786.
I will be
See,
failing if I do not acknowledge the services of all those who involved in arranging and making possible the webinar, including the techniques. I must thank all the participants of this webinar for their attendance and enthusiastic participation, for the wonderful time we have all spent here over past 2.5 hours, which has been so enriching. Once again, I thank you all.
Yeah, Ravinderji, we thank AFMP Secretariat too, Santi and entire team at
Yes.
AFMP for their support to this webinar.
Yeah, entire team of our office, I'm thankful for them.
Right. Yes, Lakshmi Priyaji.
Thank you
We
very
thank-
much. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, we thank Vineds Muthu also for their wonderful support and wonderful presentation here for making this webinar grand success. Yeah, Lakshmi Priyaji, sorry.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank you,
yeah.
Mehta.
Well, thank you, Manojji, Lakshmi Priyaji, and all our printer colleagues. It's
Thank
been
you. Thank you,
Great event.
Nilesh.
Thank you very
Sanjeev
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Have a
Nilesh.
great evening, guys.
For this wonderful time you've given to us after your travel. Thank you.
It was a pleasure, sir. It was a pleasure.
Thank you,
sir.
Nilesh.
I
All
wish you
the
a great
best.
evening, everyone. Yeah. And have a
Thank
nice
you,
weekend.
Lakshmi Priyaji. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you. Thank you, Ravinderji. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.